afternoon. This is Roxana Gamusio. I am the Executive Director with the Tennessee Athletic Commission. Today is Friday, April the 5th, and we have a special meeting that has been properly noticed on the board's website since April the 3rd. With this meeting, I will do a quick roll call to assure that we have quorum with our commission members. So members, when I read your name, if you could please go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know you're here. Mr. Matt Reddish.
Present.
Thank you. Ms. Christy Halbert.
Present.
Thank you. And our chair, Mr. Dan McGrew. Mr. McGrew, if you could unmute yourself and let us know you're here.
I'm here.
Thank you. We have also on this special meeting, Jesse Gentry, our attorney for the Tennessee Athletic Commission. So Jesse, I'll turn it over to you for the statement of necessity, please.
All right, perfect. This is the statement of necessity for the April 5th, 2024 special meeting. According to TCA section 8-44-108B2, if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, the governing body must file such determination of necessity, including the recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based, with the Office of the Secretary of State no later than 2 working days after the meeting. Furthermore, TCA 8-44-108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting that require timely action by the body, that physical presence by the quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. This is a special set meeting for the Tennessee Athletic Commission to consider a waiver request by a boxing promoter pursuant to the Tennessee Compilation of Rules and Regulations, section 0145-02-.01. Based on the Commission's laws and rules, the consideration of a waiver of certain procedures for professional boxing in this special set meeting is necessary to allow the Commission to make a decision on the promoter's upcoming event that is scheduled prior to the Commission's next scheduled meeting on June 10th, 2024. Consideration of this waiver request in an expedited manner is necessary to ensure that the Commission can make a determination that protects the participants and all other affected individuals in the promoter's contest, and to allow the Commission to consider which requirements are applicable to this contest. Meeting remotely is considered a reasonable measure to protect the safety and welfare of the participants in the contest, as well as all Tennesseans, while ensuring that government business may continue in a manner that is open and accessible to the public. This meeting remains open to the public by electronic means, and all Commission members shall identify themselves when speaking. All votes by the Commission will also be by roll call. There will be a period of public comment following the Commission's review of the waiver request, and comments may be made verbally or written in the chat for this meeting. So that is the statement of necessity, and as stated, a recitation of that will be filed with the Secretary of State's office. I prepared the letter to make that filing after this meeting today.
Thank you, Jesse. I think I'll leave it with you. We've already stated that the agenda was properly noticed on the website. We also have a link to this Teams meeting if anyone is participating, and at the regularly scheduled meeting in June for the Commission, we will update that this meeting took place. So Jesse, I'll turn it back to you for the waiver information.
All right, perfect. So we met with some individuals from the Team Combat League about the rules that they've provided to us that they would like to have considered as part of several contests potentially over the next 2 years for the Team Combat League in the state of Tennessee. Based on the rules, I did review those at length, as well as how they apply or would fit under our current rules and regulations. The Commission does have the ability to waive any of its regulations if there is necessity or undue hardship, which has all been kind of outlined previously for the Commission. But based on that rule allowing the waiver of the applicability of the rules and the rules that Team Combat League would like to use for their contests, specifically there is one rule that does conflict with those rules that they have. Particularly, that is the rule that relates to the interval in days in between bouts. Our rule does say that if there's a boxer who's competed in any bout that is less than 4 rounds, they have to wait 2 days until they can participate in another bout. based on the rules for Team Combat League as proposed, potentially you could have an individual who could fight 2 rounds in one contest. However, because that person could fight a different opponent in that second round that they fought in the first round, I believe our rules would consider that technically a second bout since they're fighting a second opponent. Even though at most they're only fighting 2 rounds on that day. So based on the waiver, the commission could consider whether or not that rule, based on the number of days that needs to be elapsed before they can participate in that second bout, if that should apply or if that should be waived. If that rule creates an undue hardship based on the rules of Team Combat League. That is the item before the commission today. There's also, just to make the commission aware, I did look at the way that scoring based on under our rules as well as Team Combat League. I do think it's important to note, although I don't think we necessarily have to consider waiving them, but it is important to note that scoring for a typical boxing match, is based on that one bout. And under the rules for Team Combat League, all those scores, I guess, are, and the Team Combat League representatives can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but based on the way that the entire match is considered for all the fighters for the scoring of each round, technically each one of them isn't noted in BoxRec as having fought a separate, I guess, a win or loss. It's based on how the team does as a whole. So if there is a fighter who's KO'd or TKO'd, I guess they wouldn't be participating in the second round potentially. And that would be noted, in terms of medical suspensions, but that would affect the ultimate team record and not necessarily that individual's professional record, is my understanding. If anyone from Team Combat League needs to correct me on that, that's fine if I'm incorrect in that, but that's my understanding from how BoxRec records it.
Yes, that is correct. Us at Team Combat League have our own section in BoxRec. It does not affect their normal boxing record on BoxRec. It's 2 separate departments, yes.
And if the individuals from, if the commission members have any questions, I think the easiest way is just to open it up to see if you all have any questions. I'm not sure how much you all understand what Team Combat League has done from, viewing what they've done previously in other states, but just to kind of give a summation, and Team Combat League can also provide the representatives can provide that, but it is several fighters who are all on the same team, and they're fighting in the same weight classes. It's not a situation where you would have someone from one weight class fighting something that's a drastically different weight class. The fights are based on weight classes. They're not fighting individuals of opposite genders. And the first 2 rounds, I guess, are scheduled to pair up fighters. And then there's a third round where fighters are picked by the team to compete against each other. So at most, during a weekly fight, they could fight up to 2 rounds, and there's a record for the team based on the scoring from each individual round that is added up cumulatively. I think that's a pretty quick way to summarize it. But if anyone from Team Combat League to add anything further, I think that might help the commission members that are unfamiliar with the sport.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to thank you for your time today, as well as the opportunity to be heard. My name is Michael Utila, and I appear before you today on behalf of Team Combat League. Team Combat League is a unique professional boxing organization that presents weekly events where male and female boxers compete across a series of weight classes. Unlike traditional boxing, each boxer on a team's roster competes in either 1 or 2 rounds, which are 3 minutes in length each, within a tournament format, no more than that. Winning and losing any given event is determined based on overall team performance as opposed to any one individual boxer's performance. As Team Combat League prepares to enter into its second season, they intend to run events in Tennessee with the hope that we can expand and have a team in Nashville next year. There's presently 12 teams spread throughout the country in major U.S. cities, and we have secured promotional licenses at this point in Texas, Pennsylvania, the Mohegan Tribal Council, the District of Columbia, Florida, and California, inclusive of our rules. At this point in time, it's our understanding that if any given combatant finished their one round of 3 minutes, and then they left the ring, that would then trigger a suspension that would preclude them from coming back for one additional round of 3 minutes in length during that same evening's tournament format. So the waiver that we'd like to respectfully apply for would be to allow a competitor, once they leave that one round consisting of 3 minutes, to return later that same evening for a maximum of one additional round for 3 minutes. I am not talking about any type of medical-based suspension. I'm talking merely a participation-based suspension. We have submitted for the Commission's consideration a letter on behalf of Association of Ringside Physicians Certified Dr. Damon Zavala, in which he has opined that Team Combat League's rules and event structure do not present anything in the way of additional risk to athletes. At this point, if the Commission has any specific questions, we would love to answer anything that you might have.
This is Christy Halbert. Thank you for joining us and considering having your events in Tennessee. I am curious about, you said possibly a Tennessee franchise next year. So this year, would there be any Tennessee boxers competing on events that you hold in Tennessee?
Yes, ma'am. We anticipated running an initial event either May 17th or May 18th. That event would either be at the Fairgrounds, Nashville, or at the Masonic Temple. We're trying to work out the logistics of internet service from the Masonic Temple. And then there would be one additional event at the end of August of this year with an eye towards having 5 events in Nashville next year, which would constitute home events for a yet-to-be-named Nashville team.
So to follow up, are there any Tennessee boxers that would appear in your May 17 or 18 event?
Ma'am, at this point, we don't believe this year there will be boxers from the state of Tennessee. We anticipate those boxers are going to be from San Antonio and California. Next year, as we develop the roster in Tennessee, we would be drawing upon the local community, offering economic opportunity to a roster of 24 boxers, both male and female, from the Tennessee area. This year, we don't anticipate it's going to be any boxers that are residing in the state of Tennessee.
Okay, thank you.
Dan McGrew here. If I could ask a question, how many boxers constitute a team?
Absolutely. Each team has a roster of 24 boxers. Of those 24 boxers, 18 are male, 6 are female. There are 2 female weight classes, 126 and 147. And there are 6 male weight classes, 126 pounds, 135 pounds, 147 pounds, 160 pounds, 175 pounds, as well as 201 pounds.
And on that particular night, how many boxers would probably be participating, roughly?
There's an initial series of rounds called the launch rounds. They're 8 rounds. Those 8 rounds go across a series of weight classes beginning at 126 pounds, going up to the 201 pounds. That's your 8 rounds. The next 8 rounds are your middle rounds. It repeats the process. 126 up to 201 pounds male, 126, 147 female. The last 8 rounds are called the money rounds. Those are the rounds that are at issue with respect to this waiver request. What typically happens is the coach is allowed to bring one of the competitors from early in the evening that's not subject to any medical suspension back to compete. So there'd be a total of 24 rounds. Those 24 rounds would likely, be constituted from a 16 boxers on the roster. Now, we do typically dress 20 individuals in the event there's a medical suspension. But typically what we're looking at here would be 16 competitors on behalf of one team, 16 competitors on behalf of the other team.
All right. Thank you very much.
This is Christy Halbert again. How does the pay structure work for the participants, and are they compensated in a similar manner to how, to the way that professional boxers are compensated now? Are they compensated differently if they compete in 1 round versus 2 rounds? Please talk a little bit about that.
Ma'am, the boxers are not compensated more if they compete in a second round. They get a per event compensation fee based either on 1 or 2 rounds for that particular evening. So on a typical roster, the boxers are allocated a certain amount of money to compete in that contest, which is memorialized in a bout agreement. And in addition to that, they also receive commission-based compensation based upon sale of any live event tickets, sale of any streams of the contest in which they're participating, merchandise, and things along that line. So they have both a guaranteed component to their compensation as well as a commission-based structure.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions by the commission members? If not, are there any other statements or I guess questions by the members from Team Combat League?
Yes, I just wanted to emphasize our intention this year in May and August is to acclimate ourselves to the local market. We're going to be working with Matt Young. He's going to be running the shows for us there. He's intimately familiar with the mechanics of the local market. He does all the Misfit boxing events. We want to familiarize ourselves with the market, get to know the market in anticipation of next year, so that we can kind of hit the ground running and have a seamless transition into a team there next year, rather than start from scratch. So that's what the purpose is of running the 2 events this year. We want to, crawl before we run.
Hi, this is Matt Reddish. That's one it's kind of hard to wrap my mind around, like kind of at the beginning, and I think I'd mostly defer to the 2 people who are a little bit more in the industry versus myself as the public member. But I just want to confirm, we're going to have like a ringside doctor, and that medical suspensions would still prevent a second bout from taking place.
Absolutely, absolutely, Commissioner.
Out in the first fight. Yeah, if someone's knocked out in the first fight, they can't then come back an hour or 2 later.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Out of the question. This pertains solely and exclusively to participation-based suspension, which suggests that so long as someone merely competes, they're then blocked out for 4 days, to come back, a certain period of time to come back. If that person is medically cleared to participate in 1 additional round of 3 minutes after the 1 additional rounds of 3 minutes they participated in, that's what we're trying to accomplish with the waiver. To be absolutely clear, for purposes of clarity and avoidance of doubt, any one of the boxers on the team, male or female, would not be participating in more than 2 rounds for a total of 6 minutes during the course of any Team Combat League in the event, Team Combat League event.
Yes, and to piggyback that, to answer your question, sir, if the fighter is injured, knocked out, any medical suspension after that first round, definitely he will not or she would not be able to compete in an additional round. We will follow the medical advice of the physicians ringside.
And that is why we dress additional athletes based on that being any contingency along those lines. There are additional athletes on the roster, ready to step in.
Do we
already have additional athletes there?
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if you already have additional,
hold on a second.
Sorry, go ahead,
This
go
is
ahead.
Roxana. Matt, since you are the commission member, I want to make sure that your questions are answered in the event that we have
Oh.
to wrap up. So Matt, if you can go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. I just want to say, if you already have like additional people there, I mean, why have someone fight twice if you have enough people there for everyone to just fight once? I mean, you have enough people for everyone to just fight once? I guess would be the first question. If so, then I mean, why put someone through fighting twice? I guess
Well,
kind of, as you know, again, as the public member, kind of like a question that kind of pops in my head.
Well, again, I just want to be clear from a context standpoint that they're really not fighting twice. The minimum number of rounds in a typical boxing professional match is 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds, 12 rounds. In this instance, they're only fighting 2 total rounds. The other point is we're dressing typically 20 people, so we actually wouldn't be able to do the 24 rounds. We also think that the concept, some of the uniqueness of bringing someone back later on is what kind of gives Team Combat League its niche and differentiates itself. And we've seen that brings excitement when you bring 2 people back. It's a different matchup. There's, what I mean? It does present something that we feel is, driving consumer interest in these events.
Yeah.
Yes, and
That
that's
makes
your
sense.
question even further. The last 8 rounds, in which we call the money rounds, that's more about the strategy of the coaches also. The first 16 rounds, they go, no one repeats. But those last 8 rounds, the coaches can figure out what's their best opportunity for victory by matching those up accordingly. So that's why there's some strategy involved in those last 8 rounds. Thus, we call them the money rounds. And it does.
And to be
very exciting.
To be completely clear, those bouts are submitted to the commission, within the 10-day window. This is not anything that's done that night on site. This is all planned out in advance. Coaches make selections. It's run through the matchmaker. I don't want to leave the commission with the impression that this is being done, on the fly at the event. It's not. It's submitted to the commission, consistent with your existing regulations.
Therefore, the fighters already know they're going to
Correct.
fight twice unless something happens medically.
Like I said, I'm more than happy to defer to, Dan and Christy, who are a little bit more in the industry about, I guess safety and norms and things like that. So those are my questions, and happy to open it up. I know someone else is trying to talk, so I'll mute myself for a minute.
Jesse, we might have had all our questions answered, at least from the commission's perspective. I know that we will be doing everything as usual in the office, so there are no concerns with that. I'll turn it back over to you if you need to finalize the waiver piece.
Yes, so I think that if there's no further questions, the commission would be able to either, I guess, make a motion, depending on however you all want to do it. You could either make a motion to grant the waiver or a motion to deny the waiver, or potentially move to allow for more time and consider the waiver at the next scheduled meeting of June 10th. But those are kind of the 3 different options that the commission members could take based on this waiver request. You need to make a motion. And again, since we're electronic, please state your name before making any motion so that it can be recorded in the record. But just making a motion to either grant the waiver of the to pull the rule back up. I'm sorry, I had to switch screens there for a minute. The rule that prevents boxers from participating in another bout if they've participated in 4 or less rounds within the last 2 days. That would be the rule that needs to be waived at this time.
This is Christy Halbert. I'll make the motion to grant the waiver.
This is Dan McGrew. I second.
Thank
Right,
you.
then
We have a motion. Thank you. We have a motion by Christy Halbert and a second by Dan McGrew. By roll call vote, I will go through the 3 members to make sure that everyone agrees. And if you do not, I will also need to know that you do not. Matt Reddish, the motion at hand.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Christy Halbert.
Aye.
Thank you. And Dan McGrew?
Aye.
Jesse, we have all three members, which constitute quorum, agreeing to the motion as presented to allow for the waiver.
All right, I think at this time then, when Team Combat League makes the application for the permit, our staff will process that. I know we will internally probably discuss with Team Combat League closer to the scheduled actual contest date, just to make sure that our staff are prepared, since it would be something new for our inspectors. So Team Combat League, just be prepared. We might have to reach out to you a little bit closer to the actual date, just to make sure everyone is up to speed on the expectations.
Understood. And thank you for your time today. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank you
so much.
To everyone. I don't see any raised hands, any questions, Jesse, from anyone that could have joined us. Bob or John, if you see anything that I missed, let me know if we have any other questions pending. Yes, sir.
I was going to say, I do not see any further. We can take some public comments, since that is, even though it's a public meeting,
Correct.
we would have to have public comment. So if anyone would like to make any comments on the record, whether they've spoken previously or not, this would be their time to do so. I didn't see any in the chat either.
I don't either. I think we're at a good place. Jesse, if it's okay, I'll entertain a motion from one of our commission members to adjourn.
I have a question, just a quick question, not really related to the subject at hand, but I would like to ask you, Roxana, what, if anything, do you know about this medieval combat MMA league that's or MMA fighting that's going on in Nashville?
Jesse and I addressed it a little bit. I believe that doesn't fall under unarmed combat. And so we can definitely discuss it at the June meeting if you like, but we have seen some of those advertisements, but it is not unarmed, which is what we regulate.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Members, do we have a motion to adjourn?
This is Christy
Dan
Halbert.
McGrew, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I will record Dan McGrew with a motion to adjourn, and Christy seconded. Matt, if you're in agreement, sir?
Yep.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
All members agree. We are adjourning the meeting. I will stop the recording. Thank you, everybody, for participating on such short notice and getting this done. Jesse, thank you for all the hard work. And with that said, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.